What is up, everybody? Welcome to June's Sports Ramblings. Tim, you have a special guest there.
This is my brother Brent, my younger brother Brendan. Just finished up his sophomore year at good old UD, University of Dayton.
Go
So
Flyers.
he is Joe Flyers. He is joining us tonight to for his inaugural appearance on Sports Rambling. So we'll see how it goes.
Very,
Brendan, welcome to the show.
You said
very
go.
good. So, as we're recording this, Game 1 of the NBA Finals is going on. And to the surprise of only delusional hardcore NBA fans, it is once again the Warriors versus the Cavaliers. Like, why even watch?
I mean, Mikey, this is like the first time I saw. This is the first time ever in the four major pro sports leagues that this has happened, where the same two teams have met in the finals for 4 years in a row. And in fact, Brendan just showed me a tweet that the Warriors didn't even sell out game one. As of 15 minutes before tip, they had hundreds of seats open in Oracle Arena.
I saw a number of seats in the broadcast. They catch like very lower level, 100 seats that were not filled at all, and it was kind of weird for me to see for how packed Oracle usually gets.
Yeah, so NBA ratings guy, fake news ESPN guy, all these people will be like, the NBA is surging in popularity. They would almost have you think it rivals the NFL in terms of popularity, which I've mentioned the word delusional a lot. You'll hear delusional and NBA fan a lot in the same sentence in this episode. If you're a hardcore NBA guy, two things. You're wrong, and this is not your episode. So, yeah, where do we begin? Twitter is going to be it's a fantastic source of news. So those
Reliable.
very reliable. No, nothing on Twitter is ever incorrect. But Brent Rooker, who those of you who are not familiar with Brent Rooker, he was basically the best college baseball player ever last year. He played for Mississippi State. I don't know whose farm system he's in, but he's definitely in one. He led the SEC in like all batting categories last year. Towards the beginning of the season, he had a tweet saying, "Oh, this is the start of the NBA season. I feel like this is just going to be an 8-month movie that we know how it's going to end." And he like brought that up again, and it's like, well, Cavs Warriors. He didn't say anything. He's just like, this seems relevant now, and it's like, yes, we knew this was going to happen. I mean, if you just a gut feeling, it's like, yeah, the Warriors are going to win. They're still good. No matter how built the Rockets are, they're not going to be able to win, which turned out to be the case. No one of these is going to be able to compete with them whenever they get to the finals or whatever. So it's like, okay, whatever. Who cares? If you listen to Vegas, they've been the whole season the largest favorite for any pro sport to win the title of any of them.
They're like minus 1,000 or something like that right now.
Yeah, is that like, I think that's like 90-something% if I'm not mistaken.
It's like they basically. I remember seeing a show the other day. Basically, if, like to put this in like other terms, like minus 1,000, that would be like what like Michigan or like Clemson would be favored by over like Cincinnati in football.
Really?
Like you put that in perspective, and it really like shows like how Vegas sees how much of like a disparity there is in this matchup.
Yep. And another stat I saw is Game 1, the Warriors are 13-point favorites, which is the most a finals matchup has ever been skewed in like recorded history or whatever, as long as they've been keeping track of gambling stats and lines and all that. So I think a good evidence is we're recording this right now instead of watching the game. So
I mean, when we were watching the Cubs game earlier today, and so I barely even turned on the game. I threw it on every once in a while once the Cubs game went to a commercial, just as the score was. That's pretty much all I did.
Yeah, I mean, I have absolutely no interest in watching this, like, at all, because, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Even if something miraculous happens and Cleveland were to win some games, or some games would be competitive, I don't care about the Warriors playing the Cavaliers because it's the same old like the dead horse analogy. The horse isn't even there anymore. He's like completely decayed. They're like beating on the dirt where the dead horse used to be. Like, LeBron James is so good, 8 straight finals. Rah, 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 rah. The Warriors are so good. Rah, 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 rah. Like, it's, you know. And in the same token, they'll be like, the league's so much competitive. The past, like over the summer year, the off season's amazing. It's gonna be so much better next year. And we just got the same thing. Like.
Exactly. I mean, Maggie, you talking about, look at all the moves that happened in the offseason. You know, look at all the free agent signings that, like, the Celtics made, the Rockets made, this and that. Everyone's saying, oh, you know, trust the process in Philly. The Sixers are coming, which, you know, it's like all this stuff goes down. And, again, we got the same movie for the 4th year in a row. To me, like, there's definitely a problem there. And then you've got, like Brendan and I have watched the NBA Finals like every year for as long as you can remember, and like now this year we're just like, whatever, we don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that's like a major concern when you're losing a big portion of your core fan base because they're saying this is getting boring. We want to see something different. I mean, when was the last time we had, like, for example, when was the last time we had a Super Bowl rematch or a World Series
Giants,
rematch?
Patriots, and all those games were fantastic. And the Giants were wild card teams both times, if I'm not mistaken.
Technically, this year's was a rematch, although it was a number of years apart. But still.
I don't think anyone on either team was in both games minus Tom Brady.
Yeah, except for Tom Brady, it was really not much of a rematch.
You know,
and it wasn't back-to-back years either.
It was 15. What? It was 02, 05. When was the first one?
Giants Pats?
No, the first Eagles Patriots.
Eagles
was 03, yeah.
So 15 years.
So then 17, yeah. So 15 years roughly.
Yeah, most people aren't, but pretty much, I think Tom Brady, I'm not sure about this, you know, sports ramblings, we don't do our research, we just kind of shoot, we just throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks.
Sports, Mikey.
I would not be surprised if Tom Brady were the only person on any roster for both teams in both of those Super Bowls.
He probably wasn't. Bill Belichick was probably the only coaching member in those 2 games as well.
Probably so. So, yeah, and I mean, even like, you look at baseball or like you look at hockey or any of the other pro sports, you can't even compare it to college sports because college sports, the players are different every year. If Duke's in the Final Four all the time, it's because Coach K gets great players. If Alabama's in the finals every time, it's because Nick Saban sold his soul to the devil to win football games. I mean, you know, it's different than just, well, no one can beat LeBron James, and Kevin Durant, the second best player in the league, joined the best team in the league, and now the West is just not up for grabs. And people who will say, but it went 7 games in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Most of those games were double-digit blowouts.
Oh yeah, I mean, in the East, they were all double-digit blowouts, except for there were 2 9-point games, which is still basically double digits.
And you know, people could argue because Chris Paul was out, the Rockets lost. Andre Iguodala was out for the Warriors. I never buy injury story unless it's like a quarterback in football or something.
Yeah.
Like, it matters, but I don't think it matters that much. And what the blowouts tell me is that the teams don't care. Like, the Warriors, you're just like, you know, last year, you know, they felt like they had something to prove. They're trying to get the 3-1 monkey off their back, which, you know, it's pretty easy when you have you add Kevin Durant to the best team in the league already and all of that. And, you know, so that's why they, you know, went on a sweet fest last year. And this year, you know, it's kind of like, we're up 3-1, you know, we're up 3-0 against the Spurs, lose a game. We're up 2-0 against the Pelicans, lose a game. Like, who really cares? Like, the series against the Rockets, it just, you know, it seemed like they were playing with their food, really. And not that I would know. Not that it's not like I watched the games. The only bit I watched was the Game 7 in the intermissions and after the Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And well, that fateful night caused me to kick the hornet's nest that is known as NBA Twitter. NBA ratings guy, a certain NBA ratings guy, quote tweeted one of my many things, and I'm not going to mention his name. He doesn't deserve the time of day. But
he shall remain anonymous on Sports Rambling.
He's just going to be known as NBA ratings guy, because NBA ratings guy is up there with one of the most annoying sports people. Like, you have Skip.
No trade clause guy.
You have your Skip Bayless types, which are the LeBron James, Michael Jordan debate ad nauseum. Like, ad nauseum is not enough of a term for what Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith and Mike and Mike, or Rip Mike and Mike, or any of that sort of stuff. But so my cousin Robert Rhymes, a big fan of Sports Ramblings, I know he's watching. He said something. He said something like, "Oh, I watched the NBA Game 7. I really should have watched the NHL Stanley Cup game. That looked better." Basically something that boiled down to Stanley Cup Finals better than NBA Finals. And I so generously quote tweeted Twitter down below, by the way, for Tim and myself. Brendan, we'll get Brendan's mention towards the end of the episode. Maybe put in the description. Who knows? If he's lucky. I was like, facts. NFL, MLB, and NHL are infinitely more entertaining than the NBA, which is true. I'm very rarely wrong about things like this. I also am very humble. And NBA Twitter guy so eloquently quote tweeted that and said, NFL, racist owners and CTE. Okay. MLB, 162 regular season 4-hour games.
False.
Okay.
3 hours.
Okay.
3 hours.
3.5. NHL, endless cheap shots and more concussions. Dental, losing teeth, you have an argument, concussions. NBA's fact. NBA ratings are up, and NFL, MLB, and NHL are declining. All right, boys and girls, pause the video, go grab some popcorn, pop open a beer. We are about to slaughter, word by word, this entire absurdity of tweeting. So let's start at the end. NBA ratings are up, and MLB, NFL, and NHL are all down. Okay. Few things you have to consider here. NBA ratings are up. They are not at historical highs. The historical high for the NBA ratings is this somewhat well-known baseball player who dabbled in basketball, played for Chicago, Michael Jordan. You might have heard of him.
I think we've heard of him once or twice.
Once or twice. I think he's okay. He did all right. He might have won a championship here and there. Anyways, NBA ratings were at their pinnacle. At the Mount Olympus of NBA ratings were in the late 90s, mid-late 90s when Michael Jordan was in his heyday. They have not recovered from the 90s. What has happened since the 90s?
20 years ago, Mikey.
Like pretty much all of the internet's functionality, social media, high-definition television, which is a big deal, millions of more people with access to be able to watch these things, and the ratings have not caught up. Yeah, the NFL, look, the NBA's ratings are up. But, it's like the stock market going up after, it's like the stock market's up in this random day during the Great Depression. I'm like, it's still not good. I'm sorry. The stock market was up 5% in 1935. I don't think many people cared. I don't think it was that big of a deal. So, and then let's assess, NFL, NBA, or NFL, MLB, and NHL are down. Okay, NFL ratings are down because of the anthem protest. You may not like it. That is why it pissed people off. Whenever football stops being just about football, people get aggravated. That's what happens. MLB ratings are down. MLB is a completely different beast. Baseball is a different sport. You know what? You know how we watch baseball here in the Micho house? My mom knits while watching baseball. Why? Because she doesn't have to have her eyes glued to the screen 24/7. You watch... Baseball is a different viewing experience, both in person and watching. I have two screens right now with the recording and with the stuff you see right now. What I'd like to do is I'll play a game on one screen and I'll have a baseball game on the other. And you know what? I'll be clack, doing all my stuff, youtube.com/Panzernator, link below. And I'll be doing that. I'll hear a ping or a crack. I'll look over, see what happens. And then I'll go and, just kind of listen to the announcers and whatever. And it's a good thing to multitask with. But basketball, hockey, football, well, pretty much every other sport, you have to be watching the whole time. Similar thing in person. Tim and I, at our various Notre Dame basketball games, Brendan over there in Dayton with the glorious Flyers. You go to a basketball game, you're not doing much relaxing. You're standing up, you're yelling, you're, making like three motions whenever someone hits a three. You're telling...
Right, Mike? You have to tap the hat three
you
times.
You have to induce a self-induced concussion whenever you go like, three! And like hurt your head a little bit. If you're not doing that, you're not as hyped for the game. What do you do with baseball? Baseball, you just go and you just kind of lean back in your chair and you just talk with everyone. And I always say baseball is a great thing to do, like to go on a date or to take someone you need to catch up with or to chat or whatever. You know, at a basketball game, you're not fucking talking to the other person at all. Like y'all are just, it's a different type of game. It's America's pastime, not America's thrill seeker or whatever. I don't know what you would say. It's a different...
At a football game, and you're always glued in at the football game.
Like
with the exception of timeouts, obviously.
Exactly. So it's a different game. You can't compare baseball at. And if those of you watched last month's episode, yes, the NFL. I can't. There are too many letters. The Major League Baseball, they play 162 regular season games. At least they eliminate 2/3 of their league from the playoffs in that time span. And the NBA plays 82 games, and the NBA plays 82 games. Over half the league makes the playoffs, and they tell you all those teams have a chance to win. Wrong. And that the seeding matters, as we saw this year. Wrong. And the thing is, in the NBA guy will tell you every game matters. This matters because, the Pelicans are on a 10 out. We've won 10 out of their last 11. I'm like, yeah, we're still going to lose to the Warriors in the playoffs, which unfortunately did happen. NHL, same playoff setup, but a few things are different. The seeding kind of matters. Any team can win. And no NHL people tell you the whole season matters. Like, that's just not an argument they make. They're like, yeah, hockey's awesome. You should watch sometime. Like, NBA guys like, you didn't watch the Pelicans game? I'm like, it was a freaking Tuesday. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It's 1 out of 82, and they literally just have to be not in the worst, like, third of the league to make the playoffs or whatever. It's a little more than a third that misses the playoffs. But, like, at least half the league is eliminated in baseball. And hockey. Look, hockey... you want to know why hockey's not popular? Because it's really expensive to play hockey as a kid. This is a thing that literally anyone can tell you. People are more interested in the sports they play. Who likes to watch soccer games? People who played soccer. Who likes baseball the most? People who played baseball. Football, basketball. There's so many more people who've been able to play basketball than have been able to play hockey. Why? What do you need to play basketball? I could probably just drive to the park in town.
Just a driveway, a ball, and a hoop. That's all you need.
Honestly, you need a pair of tennis shoes and know where a court is in your city or in your town. And you literally show up and someone else have a ball. What do you need for hockey? Well, you need to pay for ice time and pads. Oh, and you grow out of those pads every couple years, which they're expensive. Hockey pads smell disgusting. I don't know if you've ever been around them. But hockey pads are the worst smell ever. So you have to put up with that. Did I mention ice time is expensive? Ice time is very expensive. So to play hockey, it takes a lot of time and effort, and the kid really has to be into it. You don't play pickup hockey. Like, that's just not a thing. Whereas, like I said, literally, and someone, you could ride your bike around your neighborhood and play a 3-on-3 game in your friend's driveway for basketball, or even go to the beach and someone's playing catch for baseball or with a football or sand volleyball. Hockey's not as popular because less people play it. That is it. That is 100% the reason. I mean, and because of that, people don't understand it. I don't know what icing is. Like, I know a few rules. If the puck goes in, that's a goal. If you murder someone, that's illegal. Some fighting's allowed, but fighting with a stick isn't. And if it goes behind the blue line, you like have to reset your offense or some bullshit. I don't really know what the hell's going on.
Nike is good in training when it comes to hockey rules and regulations.
Does anyone do the players know the rules of hockey?
I heck they do.
I mean, hopefully. I mean, sometimes I have my doubts, but I mean, look, I'll say something. Before college, I don't think I had ever watched an NBA game. I don't think I'd ever watched an NHL game. Just no one gave a shit about the Pelicans when they were the Hornets because they kind of sucked. And I'm just not, my family wasn't into basketball. And hockey, we had our local team, the Ice Gators, who have, from my childhood, left, come back, and then left again. I think they're gone right now. I literally have no idea. So that shows you how popular they are right now. And I probably couldn't name you a single NHL team. But going to college, kind of getting into both at the same time, the NHL's better. It's more entertaining. It's faster. There's actually a sense of peril. Look, an NBA game's an NBA game is a 10-point game. It's so boring. Everyone fouls. They try and come back. They can't come back. It's a 2 or 3 goal NHL game. The last 5 minutes just get bananas. Everyone's flying around. They take risky passes and shots. You have breakaways. Nothing is better than the empty netter. Okay, let's just go over the 4 sports. What happens when a team is trying to come back in football? Crazy passes, laterals, onside kicks, absurdly long field goals, 4th and 50, stuff like that. In-game football, it does slow down, but the plays are exciting. What happens in hockey? The goalie gets pulled. That is awesome. It's just so on the edge of your seat. The game picks up, and there's not much stoppage in hockey, at all. So there's this absurd notion. So I was watching one of the playoff games on a Sunday, and I had to go to 5 o'clock mass. And it was 4:40 or whatever. And I'm like, oh, there's 5 minutes on the clock. I'm never going to make it. That 4 minutes of in-game time took only 5 or 6 minutes of real time. You know how long that 4 minutes have taken in basketball or football or whatever?
At least 10 or 15.
20, 30 minutes probably, if I were guessing. What else? Baseball. What happens at the end of baseball? Closers come in. They throw 100. You have crazy defensive shifts.
Mound visits and all that.
Mound visits slow it down, but within the game, you have people trying to stretch out plays, base running, aggressive base running. It gets exciting. What happens in basketball? Foul. Free throw. Free throw. Inbounds. Dribble down. Oh, Hail Mary 3. Oh, it's a brick. Okay, rebound. Foul. How much time came off the clock? 4 seconds over the course of a minute or two. It slows down, and especially when you get to the NBA, it's they're not going to come back. It just doesn't work like that. And this goes all the way down in basketball. This is one of my biggest complaints about the sport. I love college basketball. The NBA is just atrocious. I mean, it's just unwatchable. So the game
happened over the couple of years here.
What's that?
Especially what's happened over the couple of years here with Durant and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, the Warriors Cavs 4, and it's so absurd.
Yeah, and Mikey, you want to talk about parity? We mentioned how baseball plays 162 games, but after 162 games, there are teams that are still tied for the division lead or a wild card spot.
Yep.
We want to talk about parity. They played 162 games, and we still don't have a clear-cut winner.
And and I've always said the reason why baseball plays so many games, both in their playoffs and in the regular season, is a lot of what baseball is about is pitching depth and managing your rotation. That's why in college, baseball is the only college playoff system that I know of that actually has not one and done type system. It's double elimination in all rounds of the college baseball and softball playoffs. Why? Because baseball is about pitching depth. That's what it comes down to. Look, everyone can hit. I mean, much to my chagrin, the Florida Gators won the World Series last year with the worst batting average in Omaha. It comes down to pitching depth. I don't think there's much difference in the hitting of the 8 teams that make the trip to Omaha, Nebraska in late July. But what separates them is who has pitchers, who can win those games and stay out the loser's bracket and keep more of the rotation fresh. I mean, that we talked about it last year. That's what came and bit LSU. They had to fight from the loser's bracket, and one of their starters got injured. They were toast in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball, like the one and done system of the March Madness, is so good for basketball because even if they played a 3-game series, it would be so much chalk. Much chalk.
You would never see a UMBC in a best-of-3 format.
No, they'd win game 1 and then lose the next 2 games by like 100. That would happen. So when you get to the NBA and every round is a 7-game series, oh my God, it feels like the playoffs take as long as the regular season sometimes.
Right. Which I think is another flaw in the system, which we've talked about on the show before, Mikey.
Yep, and again, the direct equivalent, the NHL, their playoffs move a little faster. Like, for example, we are through 2 games of the Stanley Cup, and today's a travel day, and Game 1 of the NBA Finals is only happening tonight. So, hockey will finish like half a week before, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what have we defended? We've defended MLB 162 regular season 4-hour games. NFL, racist owners and CTE. So I do remember there was a pro sports owner who tweeted or texted his wife something racist and was forced to sell his team. That was NFL, right, Tim? That was NFL.
I think so, right?
The Clippers. The Clippers are an NFL team, right?
I think so, right?
Oh no, that's an NBA team. The NBA had the racist owner. Wait a minute. This isn't supposed to happen. Really, dude? Okay, and if you want to bring up the national anthem thing, which I'm sure that's what people will jump to, guess what? Guess who has stricter rules on the national anthem than the NFL?
The NBA.
The NBA.
Way longer than the NFL has had that policy.
Yes, Yes, who has? Okay, and if I'm sure. Of course, because this is America, this only means white people being racist towards black people. It has nothing to do with any other nationalities. Which name an institution in the history of the world that has made more African Americans or people descendant from Africans, or just of any type, millionaires than the NFL. Not the NBA. The NBA has 5 stars. The NFL has 22. NFL rosters are 53 men versus the NBA. Does the NBA have 10-man rosters? What's the NBA?
It's like 12 to 15.
12 to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the NFL's racist. just a thought. Cam Newton, pretty high paid. Pretty highly paid. Odell Beckham Jr., most of the league.
These guys, like Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders.
Pretty much every defensive back in the league, as far as I know. I mean, it's to say, the notion that any pro sports owner is racist, it's innocent until proven guilty. This is a mythical concept of America that's gone out the window with the advent of social media. It's someone was alleged to do something. Guilty immediately by the mob. It's no, unless you have a Donald Sterling type or wherever where it's proven. I hate to break it to you, the NFL owners aren't racist. The NBA owners aren't racist. Major League Baseball isn't racist, and none of the sports owners are racist. If it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, if you can throw the football and hit the receiver downfield to win a game, they're going to sign you. You know why he who shall not be named with his afro is not employed in the NFL? Because, I hate to break it to you, he's not that good. He's not good anymore. He was benched for Blaine Gabbert. That Super Bowl was a fluke. He got to that Super Bowl on the back of Alex Smith's team.
Mm-hmm.
He came in the last minute and won a few regular season games in the playoffs. He was a one-trick pony. I will rest my case on that. CTE, look. CTE is concerning. Is it a reason not to watch? No. Look, I'll get into this more later, but it's kind of confirmation. Okay, you can't prove CTE until after the person's dead, and the only people, or most of the people submitting themselves for studying when they're about to pass away, is people who think they already have CTE. So, there's kind of a little I guess that's confirmation bias type. Is that what that would be called or whatever? Look, CTE is an issue. I don't think it's enough to stop watching the NFL or to say football needs to go away. Like, no, it's an issue, but it's not a fatal flaw of the league. Hockey, endless cheap shots and more concussions. I want to give you a history lesson, everyone. You know what the oldest form of entertainment? You know what the oldest form of entertainment is? Okay, no, not that. The second oldest form of entertainment is violence, gladiators, and executions.
Great movie, by the way, for those who haven't seen it.
Look, if you look throughout human history, what entertains people is violence and death and gore. Look at the Mayans and their basketballish sport or whatever. They slaughtered the losing team. The gladiators in Rome, the chariot races, and public executions. Again, the Colosseum. Up until 200 years ago-ish, up until the mid 1800s, public executions were the biggest form of entertainment. If you don't like the fact that built into human nature is the fact that violence is entertaining, you are a humongous wimp. I could have said something different. And you were just you're so soft. Am I saying we should bring back public executions? You know what? Maybe for different reasons, but no. Should we bring back gladiators? No. But it's a fact of human history and human nature that violence is entertaining. You know why hockey's fun? Because when someone gets slammed into the glass, it's that was pretty cool. That was pretty athletic. That took a lot of skill to do. Why? Boxing was one of probably the most popular sport in America up until a few decades ago. Why? Because violence is entertaining. The WWE, which, WWE WrestleMania does have, did outrate a good bit of the NBA playoff games. WWE, why is the WWE entertaining? Because violence is entertaining. Get that through your head. So whenever LeBron James gets the briefly passed by, he's like, it's a foul! It's a foul! Whenever you have that,
take on the shoulder. Oh, we're shooting.
It's LeBron James scored 40 points last night. I'm yeah, all you literally have to do is travel towards the rim, kind of push the ball up in the air, and he gets fouled or a foul call.
Brendan brought up a good point of how James Harden, I think it was one game in the Western Finals, he shot 5 for 23 from the field or something like that, but he still had 30 points because he went to the free throw line a bajillion times.
Unbelievable. Oh, come on, people. This is not the hill you want to die on. One of my biggest criticisms of basketball is that the people are soft. They flop. They try and get foul calls. They don't play good defense anyways. Am I mistaken? Or, since we've already established I don't know the rules of hockey, I think hockey players get penalized for flopping.
They do. Yep.
Isn't there embellishment? Hockey penalizes people for flopping. If that happened in the NBA, LeBron James would have been kicked out the league 8 years ago.
I think it just happened in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup the other night. I think there were double penalties where one got.
There was a 4-on-4, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the other got called for embellishment because when he got hit, he flung himself into the boards, and the refs were yeah, no, nice try.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. So, okay. So if you want to make the argument that the NBA's far superior, because, okay, so what have we discovered? NBA ratings are up. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because they're still on an all-time high. You know what rates better than most NBA playoff games?
The Pro Bowl,
right? Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl. Nobody watches the Pro Bowl. I don't even know what channel the Pro Bowl's on most of the time. It outrates the NBA Finals. I forget it's happening. I'm oh, the Pro Bowl's on. And then I turn on the TV. I'm oh, the Pro Bowl ended. I missed the Pro Bowl. Oh, well. That is better rated than the NBA Plus. And then there's another nugget we haven't analyzed. How much does NBC pay for the playoff rights?
Probably not a lot.
What do Fox and TBS pay for the baseball playoffs? Not a lot.
Not as much as the NBA.
Fox, CBS, and NBC, they don't pay that much for the, they pay a lot for the NFL, but Tim is a glorious double graduate of the Mendoza College of Numbers with a dollar sign.
Mendoza College of Group Projects, Mikey.
It's
right.
the NFL is a pretty good return on investment, right? Whenever you don't have wing nuts kneeling in the national anthem, losing 20% of your viewership. NFL doesn't make good money. How much does ESPN pay for the NBA? Which way too much. They're bankrupting their whole company. They are having to cut back in other areas. The NBA ratings, despite the fact they're up, they're still not that good. They're still not better than the NFL. They're still not better than they were 20 years ago. Like, imagine that. In our lifetime, the NBA ratings were at the peak around when we were born. Like, the NBA ratings. They have not, they haven't recovered. They haven't come close to recovering. So, you want to tell me, like, yeah, the NBA ratings might be a little bit up, but compared to what they're being paid for, enough that the whole company's in jeopardy of going bankrupt? Yeah, I don't think that's a good thing. Like, I think that's just trying to sell people a bill of goods. And it's affecting all of ESPN's business. That's why so many of these shows are always talking about the NBA. And ESPN, even before their decline, I'm like, oh, it's the LeBron James network again. Sports Center for most of the years. Here's a 3-point shot. Here's a dunk. Here's that. Like, or whatever. Thank God when baseball rolls around and they can show us diving catches or whatever. But, like, it pollutes the rest of their business because they have to kind of feed into the story to try and get more people to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the NBA is not the hill you want to die on. You do not want to die in the army of NBA ratings guy. It's like the ratings are up, but what does that really mean? That's like I don't like it. I don't buy it. And go ahead, you say something. I've been talking too long.
Well, I mean, like we just been touching on, like how the Warriors, as of 15 minutes before tip-off tonight, did not sell out their own arena. I saw a radio show the other night of this guy who has a talk show on this radio station in Detroit. He's like, I've been watching the NBA since I was a little kid, and I'll tell you right now, I'm not interested in watching this finals. When you have your core audience saying, you know what, I don't care, that's incredibly concerning. You're trying to bring in outsiders, not lose your core, which I think is what the NBA is doing. It's what ESPN has been doing along with it.
Remember Charles Barkley when he went on set in the Stanley Cup game last year?
And he said, oh, this is so much more exciting than the NBA playoffs.
Charles Barkley, which I didn't even mention, TNT's NBA crew with Shaq and Chuck and Kenny and whoever else they have is unbeatable. That is like the best sports analysis show there is. And you know why I know it's good? Because they're making the NBA sound interesting. Like, one. Two, those just Chuck and Shaq together are just a comedy duo that the world deserves. But like ESPN is killing itself, cannibalizing its own business to try and pump up the NBA, where they're not even doing the NBA better than anyone else does the NBA. It's just absurd. I don't understand it. What are they even doing? Like, you can't beat the TNT crew. Like, pack your bags and go. You know what ESPN's really good at? Baseball. Go be the baseball network. Look, it might not make you more money, but it will be more profitable. Like, I know I'm an engineering graduate. I haven't started my MBA classes yet in the fall, but I understand if you spend $1 to make $100, it's better than if you spend $10 to make $100. It's return on investment or profitability or something like that. Like,
ROI, Mikey.
Like, if you spend an arm and a leg to get the NBA and it does okay, that's worse than if you don't spend that much to do baseball, and baseball, relatively to what you pay, does a lot better or something. I don't know the numbers. I'm just, I'm sorry, ESPN. I'm only suggesting how to save your multi-million-dollar company. Don't mind me, but like, there's that. And then there's one final thing I want to attack: the idea that the thing that is watched the most is the best quality product. Tim and Brendan, what's the most popular video game right now?
Probably what, Fortnite?
Fortnite, maybe World War II.
Yeah. You think those are even close to the best video games available to play right now?
Probably not.
Definitely not. I mean, that's just, that's one example. I think, what is it? Big Bang Theory is like the most popular network TV sitcom or whatever. Big Bang Theory sucks. Like,
yes, it does.
It's not.
I've seen. I think I like whatever the polar opposite of laughing. That's the kind of reaction I get from Big Bang Theory. I think I laugh more at like a romantic drama than I do.
I laugh more watching the Titanic sink than I do watching Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, seeing Rose like take over the whole board and Jack dying. I think I laugh at that more than I do laughing at Big.
Or like the band playing the music as they're going underwater. That's pretty.
As that sad scene with the band playing as the ship sinks. That's more funny. And trust me, that's not a funny scene.
That's like ironic or like depressing. Like desperate attempt to not be depressed that the fact you're about to freeze to death in the North Atlantic. But like the point we're making here is the most popular thing is not the best thing. I know. Most of y'all, a lot of people love Fortnite, but I want to see the number of hours they have in Fortnite versus the number of hours I have in most of the games I play. So it's gonna be I'm gonna both embarrass myself and them. Like, not that hours played is an indicator of quality of game, but I'm pretty sure I played Crusader Kings, which came out in 2012, more than I would ever play Fortnite or Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever. So NBA ratings are up. It's misleading, and it's a lie. NBA is better than these other sports. Wrong. NBA is more popular. That makes it better. That's a logical fallacy or an invalid argument. I'm like, come at us, NBA people. The comments are down there. I will just absolutely destroy all of you. The NBA, is the NBA bad? I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's nowhere near as good as it's being advertised.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's a good example? I don't know what a good example is, but anyhow, it's like the Marvel movies. It's like Marvel and it's like Avengers: Infinity War. Is it good? Yeah, it's good. I liked it. I enjoyed watching it. Is it as good as they told me it was going to be? No, not really. It was kind of like, okay, I saw it. Whatever. I'll forget what happens, and then the next movie I'll be like, oh yeah, snapped his fingers and everyone died. Spoiler alert. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen the memes by now. If you don't know the plot of Infinity War, it's your own fault. At this point, but like, just come on, people. If you're a hardcore basketball fan, be comfortable saying, you know what, I just really love the sport of basketball, and I like watching the Warriors play or the Cavs play. Good for you. I really think LeBron James is talented. I want to watch him. Good for you. Do whatever you want. But don't tell me that, oh, you watch the Stanley Cup and MLB and college baseball. Oh, you're an idiot. That's not nearly as good. I'm like, who are you to tell me what I should enjoy? Like, if you love fundamental basketball and you want to watch a crappy entertainment product because the X's and O's of basketball, which, by the way, which from my knowledge are not really present in the NBA, are there, go ahead and watch it. Sure, knock yourself out. I do the same thing in baseball, and I'm saying baseball is really good. You should watch it. But I'm like, I'm not finding every possible argument to say major college baseball is the best thing ever. Which, unlike the NBA, college baseball last year did have record high ratings and attendance. Not just up, record high. The NBA is up, it's not a record. So, there's that.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say that, like Brendan and I, like, we've been big basketball fans for a long time. We played it growing up, and I mean, it's just really, so like we love watching the game, but it's just really frustrating to see like the NBA put the product on the court that we're seeing, because we know this, again, we watch March Madness and we know how much better it can be in the NBA.
I mean,
because where else like for March Madness, where else do you see like a sporting event that takes the entire country by storm? Like people who don't even watch basketball on a regular basis tune in for March Madness and fill out a bracket.
Yep.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So like we feel like if that's what college basketball can accomplish, then like what is the NBA doing? You know?
And another point about the NHL is that I didn't grow up watching hockey because, when I was a younger kid, because the Blackhawks were absolute crap. They were so, they were
so bad that their home games weren't even televised. You could only listen to them on the radio. That's how bad they were.
Oh, Lord.
They got their head coach, Joe Quenneville, got involved players, Kane, Taves. And then that's when I started getting hockey more, and the Blackhawks started winning Stanley Cups. And that's when I realized how crazy the NHL playoffs can be. And now it's kind of sad to see they're no longer in it because it's been so long that they have not been in it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see a teams like Vegas, Capitals in the Stanley Cup, two teams, team that's just in its first year, and Caps have always been on some bad luck. So that's a much better matchup than anything that the NBA's been producing so far.
No.
And I will say, Maggie, kind of bouncing off of that, another big reason that I think a lot of people have been jumping onto the NHL bandwagon is high definition television. Because before, the biggest complaint that people had with hockey was, I can't see the puck on the TV. I don't know what's going on. But now that we have HD TV and all this other like ultra 4K UHD whatever it is, alphabet soup.
Buzzword, $50 more for your TV.
Yes, you can see the puck as clear as day.
Yep.
And people are now like, now that I can actually see where the puck is and where it's going, this is like really cool. Like I'm really interested in.
And like the camera's like automated and tracks the puck. So, but.
Yep.
I will just say, like, from the few minutes I watched of the Warriors-Rockets Game 7, I saw more bricks than there are in that Lego set over my shoulder. Like, it's like, the 3-point, like, I've heard arguments the 3-point line is hurting the NBA more than it's helping. There's an argument for that. I can see why you would say that. But then we just have a foul call every play, and the you want to talk about MLB taking 4 hours? So, I mean, it's just it's not good. Like, they're great shooters. I'm like, no, they're not. Like, sometimes, but like, and that's the key thing. Like, if someone sees a few bad minutes of basketball, they might write off the whole series. If you see a few minutes of, I challenge you to watch a few minutes of hockey, and I should be like, what's going on? Oh no, he almost scored. Like, what is, like, and not be like, at least intrigued, like, what the hell is happening? I don't understand this. The unfamiliarity of hockey honestly helps it a little bit, I think, especially down here in the warmer parts of the country. So,
loving it though, Mikey.
Yep. So that's the absurdity that is the NBA. We absolutely butchered NBA playoff guy because that for someone who's supposed to be an expert. Okay, I'm kind of giving in to who he is, but for someone who's supposed to know logical fallacies and argumentation a little bit better than the average person, that was a pretty bad argument. I understand Twitter's limiting, but like that's the best you can do. Racist. When honestly the NBA could be accused of doing worse things in the NFL. Things are too violent. I mean, I'm sorry people like violent stuff. That's just a thing. Like, get over it. Human nature is the way it is.
And the NHL has been working to, limit some of these, like, illegal checks. I mean, we've seen multiple suspensions here in the postseason for guys, just flat out boarding a guy's face right into the board,
Yep. So there's that. And then people will make the baseball is too long and boring argument and too many games argument ad nauseum. But like we said, baseball is a different viewing experience. It's It's like the equivalent of like putting on The Office that you've seen through and through 20 times on the TV while you're doing something else. You're not really watching it. It's just on, and you see like, oh yeah, there's that funny joke or whatever. Baseball, you have baseball on, you're doing something, you're looking at something or whatever. You hear a ping or a crack depending on if you're watching college or professional. You look up, you see what happens, you're like, oh, look at that. Javier Baez hit a dinger. Text Matt Bradley. He sucks, right? All these various jokes.
Bradley.
Stuff like that. So, yeah. In a NBA, look, is it entertaining? Maybe. But, so, actually, let me check the score. Okay. Guess who won game 1?
We saw it earlier. It was the Warriors, but it was actually in overtime, so I guess it was exciting, but not exciting enough because we all know
it was
who's going to win in the end.
It was still a 10-point game. Yep. Waiting. I'm sure I'll check Twitter after we're done recording, and Darren Rovell will be like, the advertisers got this much more money from the extra overtime period or some BS like that. Like, whatever. So let's talk a little bit about baseball. As this weekend, so starting after you're done watching this tomorrow, this will go live first of the month. The college baseball playoffs start, and there are a few things I want to talk about that. So this is the first. So what they would used to do is they would only seed the top 8 teams, and then the other 8 hosts would just get paired willy-nilly. So you'd always seem to have Florida and Florida State paired in the Super Regional. You'd always seem to have Texas A&M and another Texas team paired up. LSU and UL a few years back, all that sort of thing. Now they seed 1 through 16, so there's less of that, but there's still some. The Clemson Regional is paired with the Florida State Regional. That is pretty interesting. And it's a good field. LSU a 2 seed, much to the chagrin of most people down here in Cajun country. Unfortunately, our Notre Dame Fighting Irish did not make the tournament again. Something athletic director doesn't care if our sports win. Football.
Shout out to Stanford Hall Griffin Alex Kirshner though, leading the ACC in triple.
Look. I think towards the end of the season, I don't know if it was final, but have you ever heard the tragedy of Alex Kirshner the Wise? I need to stop phrasing things to start place. Alex Kirshner. He just graduated from Notre Dame this year. He's I think he might be going to medical school. I think his team nickname was Doc. Came to Notre Dame, got offers to some lower level schools, came to Notre Dame, played on the club team, got called up to the varsity team, played a little bit towards the end of his junior year, start of his senior year, first season series on the road, LSU hosting Notre Dame. It's game 3. The series is tied 1-1. Notre Dame has the lead, but it's, top of the 9th, trying to get some insurance. There's man on first and second with 2 outs. I happen to have pretty good seats, and I'm waving at him in the out-batters box. I'm like, hey, Alex. He's like, hey, what's up, Mikey? Alex Kirshner steps up to bat against LSU. I forgot what pitcher was. He's pretty good, though. Alex Kirshner, first collegiate hits a single, gets on base, loads the bases. Next batter, bomb. LSU people start going towards the parking lot, leave the stadium, pissed off. We just lost a series of Notre Dame. So Alex Kirshner start off on a good note there. Works his way from part-time DH to full-time DH. Towards the end of the season, he was the regular starting left fielder. Led the ACC in triples. Had his hit a couple home runs towards the end of the season, getting his first home runs. So Alex, if you're watching this, we're proud of you. Griffins ruled the world. Scraw baby. So a little inspiring story for you. For those of you, it's always nice for a walk-on to get a little playing time. Sports Rambling's not quite sponsored by Walk-On's Bistro and Sports Bar or whatever their thing is, but we could be. Walk-Ons, look, I live really close to y'all. Y'all got to do is just reach out to your boy, and you can sponsor this illustrious Sports Rambling show. So Coastal Carolina, who won the tournament a few years ago. Coastal Carolina, that school that no one heard about until they won the College World Series. Yeah, they're hosting. Georgia's hosting. Georgia's typically terrible at baseball. Stetson is hosting East Carolina. Texas is back in baseball, only in baseball. Ole Miss is actually good at baseball. So let's just run through those. Florida, NC State, Texas Tech, Georgia, Arkansas, East Carolina, Texas, Mississippi, Ole Miss, not Mississippi State. There are 2 seats somewhere. Stanford, not Stanford Hall, Stanford Cardinal, Coastal Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Stetson, Minnesota, Big Ten well represented this year, and Oregon State. So one interesting thing I saw, Kendall Rogers from D1Baseball.com, an amazing follow on Twitter if you were a remotely interested in college baseball. He tweeted out that I don't know any specific instances, but California has a law in the books that state institutions are not allowed to travel to certain states such as North Carolina and Texas and Alabama because of their oppressive laws or whatever. These include like the bathroom law in North Carolina. So because of that, the NCAA tournament has to seed with that in mind and send these California state schools to places that they're allowed to travel to. Now, I did hear they are allowed to get a travel waiver if it's like a postseason tournament or something, but the fact that the states bickering about legislation is affecting sports is absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if the Final Four is held in Dallas or Houston again, or San Antonio or something like that, and UCLA makes the Final Four, are you telling me UCLA can't go to the Final Four? Like, that's...
We ran into the same issue a couple of years ago in the NCAA basketball tournament when they moved the site from Greensboro, North Carolina to Greenville, South Carolina. And all those Duke fans complained that instead of playing what would have been a home game in the first or second round against South Carolina, it was effectively a home game for the Carolina fans, and they pulled the upset and moved to the Final Four.
I mean, exact. And yeah, so that I mean, it's already having an effect on our sports. If I'm a California team, I'm a little upset about that. So yeah, that's definitely not a fan of that. So in the world of professional baseball, we're about a third through the season. Something like that. Is that about right? So
which is usually about the third way point of the season.
Yep.
So yeah, let's see, 30 and 20. It's about 50. Yeah, it's about a third through the season. So a few surprises in the playoff mix right now. If the playoffs were to happen today, the teams would be the Rockies, the Brewers, the Braves, with the wild cards being Washington and Philadelphia. And in the American League, Houston, Cleveland, Boston, with the Mariners and the Yankees. So the Yankees are bad. Okay, I tell you can ask them. I text them this all the time. I'm afraid we're just gonna get the Yankees winning the World Series this year. Like, it just seems like the Empire Strikes Back this year type of deal.
No, that's what Brendan's afraid of too. The Yankees World Series title.
But I mean, if notables, I mean, your Cubs are a little bit behind. Y'all look like y'all are just out the wild card if it were to happen today. But the Braves leading the NL East, and the Dodgers are sub 500. Who would have seen that coming?
Mm-hmm.
So
if I can expand on that if you want me to.
Go, please.
So, I think what is going to happen at the end of the season, my prediction is that's going to be Cubs-Astros World Series. I think
I'm a fan.
Despite the fact how of a start the Red Sox and Yankees gotten off to, how good who else? Like Goodhouse, how like the Phillies are ahead of schedule, Braves are ahead of schedule. A lot of people like Brewers too. A lot of people like the Nationals. All these kind of teams.
You kind of saw the Rockies. You kind of knew the Rockies were going to contend more this year than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you can't say anything for sure yet about the Dodgers. They're starting to get back a little bit. They had Justin Turner return a couple weeks ago.
Clayton Kershaw's back tonight as well.
That's going to be big for them.
that helps out a lot. But I mean, the thing is with them is that I think Cubs have the best lineup in the National League.
Oh yeah.
Astros probably the best lineup in all of baseball. But the Astros, and the other thing that I think really separates everything is Astros have a deadly. I like Lance McCullers put it best that he said that I don't think we've had any kind of collection of talent like this before.
Mm-hmm.
It says you have Justin Verlander, Lance McCullers, Garrett Cole, who I think is right now on track to be AL Cy Young. Keuchel and Morton. And Morton's like undefeated right now. It's like, whoa. It's like it doesn't even matter how bad their bullpen is. I mean, for how good the hitters are, how good that rotation is, just put that ball on a team.
You want to hear something absurd? You want to hear something that's like mind-blowingly good? Justin Verlander has more. I think he has more starts than runs given up. More inning or something absurd. It's like more innings than more wins than runs allowed or something like that.
I remember seeing the Astros lead the league in most games with giving up only one earned run or less.
That's absurd. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's why but right now you have outside of those, my prediction, like I said, the Phillies are really ahead of schedule. Got some good production from Aaron Nola and newly acquired Jake Arrieta. Also,
LSU Tiger, right, Mikey?
Oh, Aaron Nola is the hero. He's a legend.
Also, you're starting to see some good growth from one of their younger guys, Nick Pivetta. Mm-hmm. I think he's been part of the rotation. I've read about him. He's been doing pretty well for them. Also, a lot of production from Aduba Herrera and a couple other players that they have. I think some other Braves are a surprising story. That's mostly their lineup. A lot of their players have been playing well. Kind of the same team they had last year, except for they call up some new guys, Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. They've been producing really well.
Mm-hmm. Acuna's on the DL right now, but.
And then the NL Central's been really tight, surprisingly. Cardinals have been good. Pirates have been good, very surprisingly. Cubs are good, and Brewers are good. Those two teams we expected to be good.
Rip Reds.
Rip Reds.
The Reds are awful, except for Votto.
I feel like it's been a trend in most of the baseball seasons of late. Just Rip Reds.
It has.
Oh yeah.
Poor
West has been pretty trashy. Like you said, the Dodgers have choked.
Diamondbacks are choking.
Rockies have kind of been so it's kind of it has to work out a little bit. And the AL Central is absolute crap too, because you don't have any good teams there except the Indians, and the Indians have been kind of underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
Shohei Ohtani's been really good, but I think that he just gone to DL.
He's back. He started last night, I believe. Only gave up one run, I believe.
But he's been good pitching and hitting wise, and Mariners have been a bit of surprise. I think their lineup has just started to really grow and start to really produce. And
this is the best they've done in over a decade, or this is the best start they've had in over a decade, from what I've seen.
Yeah. And then with regards to the AL East, Red Sox have finally realized that John Farrell sucked as a manager. He was a really smart analytical mind, and so that's where you're starting to see finally starting to see the kind of production you're seeing from that a lot of people predicting about the lineups. I mean, many people think that Mookie Betts might be AL MVP, or it might be Mike Trout. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yankees are good, unfortunately.
I have a bad feeling Aaron Boone was an amazing manager hire. It's inevitable that the Yankees make amazing hires and roster moves, and having a minor league team in Miami is helping them out a lot. So
absolutely.
The Marlins.
Just send Giancarlo Stanton our way. We're calling him up right now.
Yep.
I think they have Derek Cheater there, and I can give you Stanton, because I
fire sale.
I'm just gonna help out my old team here.
Oh my God. Yep. And of course the Padres are pod racing, as is the joke.
Yeah, they're only 6 games out, Mikey. Don't look now.
Now this is pod racing.
So that was expected, despite the fact you got a huge deal from Hosmer.
Yep. So
Padres are still not there yet.
Yep.
What's that?
Padres still aren't there yet.
Will they ever be there?
They might. Give them about 5-6 years. They might.
So speaking of 5 or 6 years, we're gonna transition. So you have Las Vegas making the Stanley Cup Finals their first year as a franchise. I feel like the only people that are upset about this are the managers and owners of every other NHL team. So picture this, Tim. You own like, let's just pick on your neighbors, the Detroit Red Wings, and I'm your general manager, and I sold you on this like 5-year plan, not the one that like communism did and starved people, but like a 5-year rebuild our team plan. And then Las Vegas just kind of shows up and like, what's up? I take some of your players because of expansion draft, sign a few free agents, and Stanley Cup Finals. Like, how pissed are you if you're an owner at your GM, like saying, why couldn't you do this? Like,
and I know a lot of them are upset about this, Mikey. I know that because the NHL was probably going to get an expansion team in Seattle in the next year or so. And Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, just had a press conference the other day, and he said, "No, we're not planning on making any expansion draft changes for the Seattle."
Rip.
So for all we know, Vegas and Seattle could be dominating the Western Conference for the next several years.
So with the expansion draft, will Vegas be like at the mercy of the expansion draft too, or are they recent enough they'll be exempt when Seattle goes up?
Now, see, I think that's the question that still needs to be answered, considering they're such a young franchise. Mm-hmm. But
or like
I have a feeling they're going to get grandfathered in, and it's going to be the same thing all over for all the 30 other teams in the league.
That's again, I'm a hockey expert, as we've already established. How much of this Vegas success comes down to the fact they were able to get Marc-Andre Fleury?
Oh, I mean without Fleury, they're not in the final right now.
I mean, by the way, I did spill my water on myself, so that's very professional show here.
What happens when you get really into your ramblings, Mike?
Yeah, I know, and there's too much ice, and then the ice all comes and punches you in the face. You hate to see that.
You hate to see it.
But I mean, look, I'm just gonna say, look, you have a league where it's the same finals matchup for the 4th year in a row. One of the teams has had a player in the finals 8 years in a row, no matter what team he's on, which people say, oh, he's so great. I'm like, it's the NBA East. Like, come on. That's like making the college football playoff from the big. That's like making the SEC title game from the SEC East. It's not the same. Like, you beat Florida. Good job. That's all you had to do. Like, I mean, but
sorry, Vols fans. The Tennessee ain't cutting it right now.
It's a little rocky. It's rock bottom at Rocky Top right now. So, but like, and then you have NHL. Okay, so last year, let's just go back to last year. You have the dynasty, the Pittsburgh Penguins, who won 2 back-to-back, one of the first teams in a while to do that. They've been in the mix a lot recently, versus the Nashville Predators, who've never been to the Stanley Cup Final before, and they were the last team in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. If you seeded 1 through 16, the Predators would have been 16. And what happens? The finals goes to 6 games. Like, that's pretty outstanding. What do you have this year? Even if you've expanded the Final Four, the teams that make the conference finals, you have Vegas, brand new team. You have Winnipeg, hasn't, never won a cup. Both
they never won a playoff series.
It was the first time I think they had been
playoff
to
series
conference finals too.
Yep, both in terms of the city and the franchise from back when they were the Atlanta Thrashers. And then on the East, you have the Capitals, which the Capitals' playoff woes have been well documented. The Washington Sports Curse, and then the only team out of the 4 to have a Stanley Cup, the Tampa Bay Lightning, which their Stanley Cup was 14 years ago?
Yeah, 04.
And only one.
Before there was a lockout the next year.
Yeah, so that's just, the parody word, the phrase parody, the concept is definitely there for hockey. And honestly, okay, so let's just, since we are pitting NBA versus everything. What's the storyline if the Warriors win the finals? Whoop-de freaking
dominant team gets the job done 3 out of 4 years.
The favorite came through again. Whoop-de-doo. And, then you'll have the argument like, oh, if Draymond doesn't get suspended, do the Cavs come back from 3-1? Which the answer is no. But, you can angrily comment or tweet at me if you disagree. I'll prove you wrong yet again.
You want that to not happen.
What's that?
Try not to hit people in the groin if you don't want that to happen. It's pretty simple.
Cup check. Cup check.
I mean, his intelligence is not that high, so
he's made some poor decisions. And what happens if the Cavs, say like Steph Curry gets struck by a meteor on his way home from Oracle or something, and the Cavs were to win, it would probably take that for the Warriors to lose. And the Cavs win the series. They're down 1 game right now. The Warriors have a 1-0 lead after 1 game. Mm-hmm. What happens if they come back and it's like, oh my God, LeBron James, he's the best player ever. And I'm like, you don't have to say if he's the best player ever. Who cares? We don't do this in other sports. In football, we might be the best quarterback ever, which you always have the thing that always shoots on the argument, it's hard to compare the different eras of the game. And so that's why people, when it boils down to Brady Manning or Brady Joe Montana, the answer is actually Drew Brees, but we'll get into that at another time. No bias whatsoever there. Baseball, we don't talk about the greatest baseball player of all time. I mean, there's the legend of Babe Ruth, and you have all the old school, Lou Gehrig.
You have the true home run king of Hank Aaron and Ted Williams, maybe the greatest hitter ever.
Yeah, the steroids era, and you kind of have them in their own thing.
Greatest all-around player ever,
You have Pete Rose not in the Hall of Fame.
This guy was definitely the best baseball player ever, period.
And no one tries to do that. Hockey, I think hockey is just Wayne Gretzky because that's the name everyone can remember. But
his nickname is the Great One.
Yeah, so I feel, and I'm sure someone has probably done it, but has anyone outside a Pittsburgh beat reporter ever said that Sidney Crosby is the greatest over Wayne Gretzky? I mean, maybe, but who?
Unfortunately, I've had Pittsburgh fans try to tell me that, and I've said you're drunk.
But if I try to make the Drew Brees is the better quarterback than Tom Brady, people will tell me I'm a delusional Saints fan. I'm like, yeah, but you're probably right. But same thing with if someone making the argument with Crosby. But why does basketball care if LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
It's they were both great players in their day. Why can't we just leave it at that,
Mm-hmm. Because Skip Bayless needs to make $6 million a year for some reason. Oh, and all of ESPN. Oh, can we just say, I saw Mike Greenberg said on his failing morning show that Cleveland Golden State is the greatest rivalry in all of sports.
Oh, it was one of the most laughable things I've ever heard, Mikey.
Notre Dame, Michigan. Notre Dame, USC. Michigan, Ohio State. LSU, Florida. Iron Bowl. Florida State, Florida. USC, UCLA. Army, Navy. Red Sox, Yankees. Saints, Falcons. Bears, Packers.
Isn't even the best NBA rivalry. That's Celtics, Lakers.
It's not even close to the best NBA rivalry. It's not even. It's just not good. I'm sorry. It's not that big of a rivalry. And the fact that the narrative has been, and had the Rockets won, this is what I would be saying, that if the Rockets had somehow miraculously won Game 7, I would be saying okay, the NBA, maybe they got something different, but as long as I've been paying attention, it's been LeBron James's team, not the Miami Heat, not the Cleveland Cavaliers, not the New England Patriots, not the New York Yankees, not the Pittsburgh Penguins, not the Blackhawks. It has been LeBron James's team whichever team in the East has LeBron James versus the West flavor of the year, whether that be the Mavericks or the Spurs or now the Warriors or whoever it's been. Like, I don't find that intriguing. I find it intriguing when the league's great player struggles. I like to see Mike Trout struggle to pull up the rest of the Angels and maybe make the playoffs. I love to see Tom Brady struggle against the wild card Giants in the Super Bowl. Like, we just had Tom Brady lose to Nick Foles in a Super Bowl. Like, Tom Brady may be the best football player of all time, but he's lost Super Bowls. First of all, he hasn't made the Super Bowl, he's made it a lot, but he loses in the playoffs to pretty good teams like Peyton Manning or a good Steelers team every now and then or whatever. And then he gets to the Super Bowl and he's lost to these teams that in any other sport equivalent would have had no chance of advancing past the first round. The 16-0 team against the last wild card Giants, the Super Bowl in 2007, I believe that was, or whatever. The Giants the second time. This one versus the Eagles. I mean, it's he struggled, and then when LeBron James loses, people either make excuses for him or there's like, oh well, the Warriors are the best team ever, which they are. It's like, why do people aren't fans of teams? They're fans of players in the NBA, and it's not to the extent that I like players from all over Major League Baseball. I'm like players from all over football because, people cheer for, we went to Notre Dame or you're Notre Dame fans, we cheer for our Notre Dame guys. I cheer for my LSU guys in the NFL or whatever, that sort of thing. In the NBA, people love LeBron and he starts off in Cleveland. He moves to Miami, they burn their Cleveland jersey. And then, or they burn their Cleveland LeBron jersey, and then they, secretly buy their Heat jersey. And then he comes back, and then they're going to get it. And then LeBron's going to lose this year. He's going to move to another team, and they're going to follow him there. And or the Warriors. The Warriors, you know who the Warrior fans were cheering for 5 or 6 years ago? The Lakers, It's,
probably. The Clippers.
It's like, you'll have in baseball, people will be fans of teams because of what they do, or people will bandwagon, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm a bandwagon, but you know what? Vegas is a really good story, first year team, or this Astros team, from the Astros to the World Series champs, I can get behind the Astros. I can get behind the lovable losers coming back from a 3-1 lead against the Indians, all these sorts of things. But in basketball, people will sell you a bill of goods claiming they've always been Cavs fans, or, I'm a LeBron fan. I'm like, they make arguments that people would not make in other sports. And it just is infuriating, and it's phony, and it's fake. It's just like, you don't really care. You just want to be on the winning side.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, what else is going on in sports?
The conversation is taking us tonight, Mikey.
I mean, the NBA is so frustrating, not because of the product on the court, which that is lacking a little bit. The NBA would be less infuriating if people just accepted it for what it was and didn't try and make it up to be more than it is. Football is king. The football is king. Football will always be king. Just accept that, and you'll be happier as an NBA fan. If someone says the Stanley Cup is better, instead of coming back and firing NFL, concussions, racism, blah, 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 cheap shots in hockey, instead of doing all that, just be like, I prefer basketball. I don't have to respond to this. Let people like what they want. If someone likes hockey more than basketball, just let them be. If someone enjoys watching a lot of 4-hour baseball games, let them do it. I'm going to let y'all enjoy your NBA. If you want to watch it, knock yourself out. All I'm going to say is I think college baseball tournament, NHL playoffs right now, all going at the same time. More entertaining. Do with that what you will. So, that's all I got.
I didn't gonna say any better, Mikey.
So hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thanks to Brendan for joining us. We hopefully a lot's going to happen in the month of June. We'll have a lot to talk about for our July episode. We'll talk about how the Warriors slaughtered the Cavs. We'll talk about how probably this NHL series went to Game 7, and we're going to have a fantastic story out of it, either way you slice it. We'll hopefully have a story from college baseball that doesn't involve the Florida Gators winning the championship. Just a personal preference there. Anyone but the Gators is kind of my mindset right now. And we'll go into July. We'll be looking back and not really looking forward. Maybe we'll see what happens in baseball. And yeah, that is your June sports rambling. So it's gonna be a good month, y'all. Even if you're an NBA fan.
Yep.
So. Brendan, thanks for joining us. Do you want to plug anything? Now is the time.
Yeah, Brendan, Twitter, any Twitter or social media plugs?
Instagram.
Oh yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, ChyTownBoy98. You'll just, I don't post that much. Twitter, my handle is Z. You just type my name in, Brendan Zdunek. I got 90% of that's Cubs tweets. Sometimes I'll be frustrated with the Cubs. I'll say some stuff about the Cubs, like saying how I believe Chris Bryant, and along with Mike Trout, will go down as some of the greatest baseball players of all time. And if you look at his stats, it's so far looking pretty good. But yeah, I'll be saying some Cubs stuff. So you guys want to follow me in that, Brendan Zdunek at ZDog166. Go follow me.
Go follow.
Yep. Tim, of course, is at TimmyMZ94 down below. Tim has an Instagram. I don't know if he posts because I don't have an Instagram.
I do post occasionally.
So go check out him. Tim is Tim has very insightful sports tweets at now. And yours truly at Panzernator, also Panzernator at YouTube. If you are interested in the game development stuff, I always retweet dev diaries and stuff like that. And if you want to watch gameplay that's of games that are better than Fortnite, then check out my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize the gaming channel. And also, of course, Sports Ramblings, what you're watching right now. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Consider subscribing to the channel. Help us, grow. Share this with your friends, especially if you are frustrated by the NBA banner, the Water Boys of the NBA ratings guy bothers you too. Share this with your friends. You'll get some mean tweet responses, but tag Tim and Brendan and I, and we will be sure to appropriately punish them in our next episode. You will get ignored on Twitter and ridiculed on Ramblings. So there's that. And also, let us know what you think in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video. And until the next one, this is Mikey, Tim, and Brendan signing out. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you.